The communication terminal blinked red for the 7th time that day. Jiali pressed her slender blue finger against the screen once more, hoping for a different result. Nothing changed. No messages from home. No response to her urgent calls. Only silence. "This cannot be happening," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the empty diplomatic chamber. The Proxima Centauri diplomatic station hung in space like a giant metal flower, its petal-shaped sections housing representatives from over 30 galactic species. Until yesterday, Jiali had been the proud ambassador of the Luminari, a respected elder race known for their wisdom and peaceful diplomatic efforts. Now, she was nobody. She checked the main terminal again. Her access codes had been revoked. The Luminary Embassy section was locked down tight with no explanation. When she tried to enter this morning, the doors remained sealed. Her personal belongings were inside, along with all her diplomatic materials. Around her, the station buzzed with activity. Other diplomats hurried past, their faces carefully blank when they saw her. Some even changed direction. Just yesterday, these same people had greeted her warmly, seeking the Luminary perspective on trade agreements and border disputes. News traveled fast in the diplomatic community. Everyone knew the Luminary had suddenly withdrawn from the Galactic Council. What they didn't know, what Jiali herself didn't understand, was why. "Ambassador Jiali." A deep voice interrupted her thoughts. "Your presence is requested in Security Office 5. The station security officer stood tall, his gray skin textured like stone. He was Drevni, from a species known for their strict adherence to rules and protocols. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of suspicion in his kind. "Of course," Jiali said, trying to hide her growing fear. "May I ask why?" "Processing," the officer replied flatly. "Your diplomatic status has been revoked. Standard procedure." Jiali knew what processing meant. The Drevni security forces were infamous for their thorough methods. They would scan her mind, extract any information they deemed valuable, and then place her in detention until her status was resolved. For species without diplomatic protection, this could mean years. "I need to contact my government first," she said. "There must be some mistake." "Your government has cut all communication," the officer said. "You have 30 minutes to report voluntarily. After that, we will come find you." He turned and walked away, his heavy boots echoing on the metal floor. Jiali's heart raced. The soft blue glow that usually emanated from her skin, a natural feature of the Luminari, dimmed with her rising panic. She needed help, but where could she turn? One by one, her allies had disappeared throughout the day, suddenly busy or unavailable. She was truly alone. With no plan and nowhere to go, Jiali wandered into the public areas of the station. The main concourse stretched before her, a vast open space with shops and meeting areas. Beings from across the galaxy moved about their business under the artificial sky dome. Some looked at her with curiosity, others with open distrust. Her 30 minutes were ticking away. She found herself near the engineering section, an area she rarely visited. There were fewer diplomats here, more technical staff focused on keeping the station functioning. Perhaps she could hide just for a while until she figured out what to do next. A loud bang made her jump. A panel had fallen to the floor nearby, and a figure emerged from behind it, covered in dust. "Sorry about that," the figure said, coughing. "These old maintenance tunnels are falling apart." It was a human, Jiali realized. She had met very few of them. Humans were newcomers to galactic politics, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 70 years ago. Their species was still finding its place among the older civilizations. The human was male, average height, with black hair and friendly eyes. His uniform patch identified him as part of the Earth Engineering Corps. "Are you okay?" he asked, noticing her distress. "You're Luminari, right? I've never spoken to one of your people before." "I am Jiali," she said simply, unsure how much to reveal. "Taiwan," he replied with a small bow. "Engineering Team 6. Jiali glanced nervously over her shoulder. No security officers yet, but they would come soon. You seem troubled, Taewon said, wiping dust from his hands. Is there something wrong? Jelly hesitated. Humans had no significant power in the galactic community. They could offer her no diplomatic protection. But this human was looking at her with genuine concern, not the cold distance she had faced all day. My people have left, she said finally. They have withdrawn from the Galactic Council without explanation. I have been abandoned here. Taewon's eyes widened. That's big news. The Luminari are one of the founding species of the Council, aren't they? Yes. For thousands of years we have helped maintain peace. And now... Her voice trailed off. And now you're stuck. Taewon finished for her. With no diplomatic status. Jia Li nodded. Station security will detain me soon. The Drevni will process me. Taewon's expression darkened. I've heard about their processing. Not very gentle from what the stories say. The stories are kind compared to reality, Jia Li said. A commotion at the far end of the corridor caught their attention. 3 Drevni security officers were questioning. People showing a holographic image. Even from this distance, Jia Li could see it was her face. They're looking for you, Taewon said quietly. Why would they search so quickly? Usually there's a grace period for diplomatic transitions. I do not know, Jia Li admitted. Nothing about this situation follows normal protocols. The officers were moving in their direction. In moments they would spot her. Please, she said, her voice breaking. The blue glow of her skin dimmed further, a sign of extreme distress among her people. I need help. Taewon looked at her, then at the approaching officers, then back at her. For a moment he seemed torn. Then he made a decision. Quick, into the maintenance tunnel, he said, gesturing to the open panel he had emerged from earlier. It connects to the secondary systems throughout this section. You would help me? Jia Li asked, surprised. Why? Taewon shrugged. My supervisor Hyun Shik always says humans stick our noses where they don't belong. Maybe he's right. He smiled. Or maybe I just don't like bullies even when they're wearing official uniforms. Jia Li hesitated only a second before crawling into the dark tunnel. Taewon followed, pulling the panel closed behind them, just as the officers reached the spot where they had been standing. In the dim emergency lighting of the maintenance tunnel, Jia Li's skin cast a faint blue glow on Taewon's concerned face. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet, Taewon replied quietly. We need to keep moving. But first, you need to tell me everything. What could make the Luminari abandon the Council after thousands of years? And why are the Drevni so eager to get their hands on you? Jia Li looked into the human's eyes and saw something she had not expected to find on this terrible day. Compassion. Maybe, just maybe, she had found an ally after all. It is a long story, she said. And I fear we do not have much time. The maintenance tunnel was narrow and dark. Taewon crawled ahead using the light from his work tablet to guide them. Behind him, Jia Li followed quietly. The soft blue glow of her skin provided just enough extra light to see the dusty walls around them. We should be safe here for a while, Taewon said. These old tunnels don't appear on the main station maps anymore. They were part of the original construction before all the upgrades. They reached a wider section where the tunnel opened into a small maintenance hub. Old equipment sat unused in corners and junction boxes lined the walls. It wasn't comfortable, but they could at least sit up straight. You know you could get in serious trouble for helping me, Jia Li said as she settled against a wall. Taewon smiled. I was already in trouble. My supervisor Hyun Shik says I ask too many questions. He pulled out a water bottle from his tool belt and offered it to her. So, what happened with your people? The Luminari are supposed to be one of the most stable species in the galaxy. Jia Li took a small sip of water. I truly do not know. Yesterday everything was normal. This morning all communication channels were cut. The embassy was locked. All Luminari ships departed from the station during the night cycle. They left without telling their own ambassador? Taewon asked, surprised. Yes, that is not normal diplomatic procedure, she said. Something serious must have happened. Taewon studied her with curiosity. The stories about Luminari said they were living databanks, their bioluminescent skin patterns holding vast amounts of information. He had always been fascinated by their species. Could there be some reason they specifically left you behind? He asked carefully. Jiali's glow dimmed slightly. That thought has crossed my mind, but I cannot think of anything I have done wrong. A soft beeping sound came from Taewon's pocket. He pulled out his communication device and frowned. My team leader is looking for me. I missed my last check-in. He looked at Jiali. I need to respond or they'll send people to search. You should go, Jiali said. You have done enough already. I will find my own way. Taewon shook his head. And go where? The station is huge but not infinite. The Drevny will find you eventually. He typed a quick message on his device. I'm telling them I'm working on a tricky repair in Section 7. That should buy us a few hours. Why are you risking so much for me? Jiali asked. Taewon was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I've always been curious about your people. Humans are still new to galactic politics. Most elder species treat us like children. But I've heard the Luminari are different. You actually listen to younger species. We believe all perspectives have value, Jiali said. Age does not always equal wisdom. Their conversation was interrupted by loud noises coming from somewhere in the distance. They're searching the maintenance areas, Taewon whispered. We should move deeper in. They crawled through more tunnels, the space getting narrower and dustier. After 20 minutes of careful movement, they reached another hub, this one even older and more forgotten than the first. We should be safe here for now, Taewon said, checking his tablet. We're between levels in a section that was sealed off during station renovations 50 years ago. Jiali leaned against the wall, clearly tired. Taewon noticed her blue glow was much dimmer than before. Are you okay? He asked. Your light is fading. My species requires specific environmental conditions to maintain our bioluminescence, she explained. The diplomatic quarters provided those conditions. Without them, my light will slowly fade. Is that dangerous? Eventually, yes. The bioluminescence is connected to our life force. But it will take time before it becomes truly dangerous. She hesitated. There is something else you should know. My light patterns are not just for show. They carry information. Taewon nodded eagerly. I've heard stories about that. They say Luminari can store vast amounts of data in your light patterns. Is that true? Yes. We are living libraries. Each diplomat carries important information related to their assignment. She looked down at her dimming hands. If my light fails completely, that information will be lost. Taewon was about to ask more questions when his communication device beeped again. This time the message made him frown deeply. What is it? Jiali asked. It's a station-wide alert. The Drevny security chief has announced that a potentially dangerous diplomatic incident is underway. All station residents are advised to report any sightings of a Luminari immediately. He looked up at her. They're really serious about finding you. This is not standard procedure for a diplomatic withdrawal, Jiali said. Something else must be happening. Taewon checked his tablet again. There's more. Look at this news feed. Other species are starting to withdraw from the station too. 3 more embassies have closed since this morning. Jiali's eyes widened. Which species? The Takari, the Volians, and the Mern. Those are all close allies of the Luminari, Jiali said. This is very concerning. A sound in the tunnel made them both freeze. Footsteps were approaching. Taewon quickly turned off his tablet, plunging them into near darkness. Only Jiali's fading blue glow remained. The footsteps came closer. A beam of light swept across the entrance to their hiding place. Taewon? Are you in there? A voice called. Out. Taewon relaxed slightly. It's Hyun-shik, my supervisor, he whispered to Jiali. Then louder. Yes, I'm here. Just finishing up that repair. The beam of light found them, revealing Jiali. Hyun-shik's face appeared in the opening, his expression changing from annoyed to shocked. What are you doing? he hissed, climbing into the hub. He was older than Taewon, with gray streaks in his hair. Do you know there's a station-wide alert for her? I can explain, Taewon started. You're hiding a luminary during a security alert, Hyun-shik said. That's not just against regulations. It could be seen as an act against the station itself. Please, Jiali said. I mean no harm to anyone. I simply do not understand what is happening. Hyun-shik looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed heavily. I should report this immediately, he said. But I want to understand what's going on first. He turned to Taewon. The Drevni are acting strange. They're bringing in extra security forces. I saw them escorting a Volian diplomat to the processing center earlier. They weren't gentle. Something bigger is happening, Taewon said. Multiple embassies closing within hours? That's not normal. Hyun-shik nodded slowly. No, it's not. He looked at Jiali again. What do you know about this? Nothing, she said honestly. I was as surprised as anyone when my embassy locked me out. A loud alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. All three of them jumped. That's a level 2 security alert, Hyun-shik said, his face growing pale. They only use that for major threats. Taewon's device beeped again. He read the message and looked up with wide eyes. The Drevni are conducting room-by-room searches of the entire station, he said. They claim they're looking for biological contaminants from luminary space. Jiali's glow flickered with her shock. That makes no sense. We have no biological weapons. Hyun-shik made a decision. You can't stay here, they'll find you eventually. He looked at Taewon. The human quarter has its own environmental systems. We might be able to hide her there. Temporarily. Taewon nodded. That could work. I cannot ask you both to risk yourselves, Jiali said. Hyun-shik gave her a stern look. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because something doesn't add up, and I want to know what's really going on. He turned to Taewon. This is going to be dangerous. Are you sure you want to continue with this? Taewon looked at Jiali, whose blue glow was growing steadily dimmer. Yes, he said firmly. I'm sure. Getting to the human quarters was harder than they expected. The station was on high alert, with Drevni security forces patrolling every major corridor. Hyun-shik led them through a series of service passages, using his supervisor access to open doors that were normally locked. Almost there, Hyun-shik whispered as they reached the final passage. The human sector is just beyond this door. Jiali stumbled, her normally graceful movements now clumsy. Taewon caught her before she fell. She's getting worse, he said to Hyun-shik. The blue glow is almost gone. Jiali's skin now gave off only the faintest blue light. Her breathing was shallow, and her eyes had lost their bright shine. I will be fine, she insisted, but her weak voice betrayed her. Hyun-shik checked the corridor ahead. Clear for now. Let's move quickly. They hurried through the final door and into the human sector. This part of the station looked different from the rest. The architecture was simpler, the technology less advanced. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only a short time, and their sector reflected their newer status. My quarters are this way, Taewon said, guiding Jiali down a hallway. They reached his small apartment without being spotted. The door slid open, revealing a modest living space filled with engineering tools, old paper books, and small plants in pots. Set her on the couch, Hyun-shik said as he closed the door behind them. Taewon gently helped Jiali lie down. Up close, he could see how badly her condition had deteriorated. The blue patterns on her skin, once bright and complex, were now dull and fading. What do we do? Taewon asked. She needs help. Hyun-shik rubbed his chin thoughtfully. You said her species needs special environmental conditions. Do we know what those are? Light, Jiali said weakly. Specific wavelengths of light and certain atmospheric elements that are rare on most planets. The diplomatic quarters had special systems to provide these. Taewon snapped his fingers. We have some equipment in the engineering bay that might help. The new hydroponics lab uses special light panels for growing plants. I could modify them. Too risky, Hyun-shik said. Engineering will be watched. They know you work there. Wait, Taewon said, looking around his quarters. I have something that might work. He went to a shelf and pulled down a small medical device. This is a human light therapy unit. We use it for deep space missions when people don't get enough natural light. I wonder if I could adjust it. He opened the back of the device and began working with small tools. Hyun-sik turned on the room's communication screen to check the station news. The situation is getting worse, he reported. 2 more embassies have closed. The Drevny have doubled their security forces. Taewon continued working on the device. Almost done. I'm trying to adjust it to create the right light wavelength. Jiali watched him with fading eyes. Why would they claim there are biological contaminants? The Luminari have never used such weapons. I don't know, Hyun-sik said, but look at this. He pointed to the screen. The Drevny are now checking all ships trying to leave the station. They say they're looking for unauthorized passengers, but they're scanning for something else too. On the screen, they could see Drevny officers using strange devices to scan departing travelers. Those aren't regular security scanners, Taewon said, looking up from his work. They look like biological detection units. There. Taewon held up the modified device. Let's try this. He brought it close to Jiali and turned it on. A soft purple light shone out, bathing her in its glow. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the blue patterns on Jiali's skin began to respond. They brightened slightly, pulsing in rhythm with the purple light. It's working, Taewon said excitedly. Not perfectly, but it's helping. Jiali took a deeper breath, her strength returning somewhat. Thank you, she said. This will help stabilize my condition temporarily. Suddenly, the light patterns on her skin began to shift. New patterns emerged, complex swirls and dots that seemed to move with purpose. What's happening? Hyun-sik asked, backing away slightly. The light is activating the data stored in my patterns, Jiali explained. Information is emerging that was hidden, even from me. Taewon watched in fascination as the patterns became more complex. You didn't know what information you were carrying? Some data is stored in deep layers, accessible only under certain conditions, she said. Emergency protocols. The pattern suddenly flashed brightly, then stabilized into a new configuration. Jiali gasped. I see it now, she whispered. I know why my people left. Before she could explain further, the station lights flickered and went out. They were plunged into darkness, with only Jiali's renewed blue glow and the purple light providing illumination. Power failure? Taewon wondered. Not likely, Hyun-sik said. The station has multiple backup systems. The emergency lights came on a few seconds later, casting everything in a dim red glow. The communication screen flickered back to life, showing alerts flashing across it. Station-wide security scan in progress, an automated voice announced. All residents must remain in their quarters. A loud banging sound came from somewhere in the corridor outside. They're going door to door, Hyun-sik said grimly. Taewon moved to the small window in his quarters and looked out. In the red emergency lighting, he saw Drevny security forces moving through the corridor, but something was wrong with them. Look at that officer, he whispered. Hyun-sik joined him at the window. They watched as a Drevny officer passed by. Something, dark and snake-like, seemed to move under the skin of his neck. What is that? Taewon asked in horror. Parasites, Jiali said from the couch. Her voice was stronger now and her eyes were clear and focused. That is what my people discovered. The Drevny have been infiltrated by parasitic entities. That is the biological contamination they claim to be searching for, but they are the ones who are contaminated. Parasites? Hyun-sik repeated in disbelief. Yes. My data patterns contain the evidence. The Luminari discovered this just days ago. These parasites target certain neural structures found in many advanced species. They take control gradually, without the host even knowing. Is that why your people left? Taewon asked. To avoid infection? Partly, Jiali said, but also to gather allies and plan a response. The infection has spread further than anyone realized. Many high-ranking officials and several elder species may already be compromised. Another loud bang came from nearby, closer this time. "They're checking every room," Hyun-shik said. "They'll be here soon." "We need to get this information out," Taewon said. "If what Jolly says is true, the entire station could be at risk." The door to the apartment next to theirs slid open with a loud hiss. They could hear voices and the sound of scanning equipment. "They're next door," Hyun-shik whispered. "We have minutes at most." Jiali sat up straighter, her blue glow pulsing with renewed strength. "There is more you need to know," she said urgently. "The parasites cannot infect humans." "What?" Taewon and Hyun-shik said in unison. "Your neural structures are different. You evolved on a planet with unusual conditions. The parasites cannot establish the connections they need in human brains." She looked at them intently. "That is why I was left behind as a messenger. The luminary knew humans might be the only species that could help." Another bang, even closer. The next apartment was being searched. "We have to do something," Taewon said. "We can't just wait for them to find us." At that moment, a soft knock came at their door. Different from the forceful banging of the security teams. They all froze, looking at each other in alarm. "Taewon? Are you in there?" A woman's voice called softly. "It's Ji-hai from engineering. I need to talk to you. It's important." Taewon looked at Hyun-shik, who nodded cautiously. Taewon moved to the door and opened it slightly. A young woman with short hair stood there, looking nervous. "You need to come quickly," she said. "Something strange is happening at the—" She stopped when she saw Jia Lee on the couch, her blue glow visible even from the doorway. "You're hiding a luminari?" Ji-hai gasped. "Do you know what the Drevni will do if they find out?" "Quick, come inside." Taewon pulled Ji-hai into the room and closed the door quietly. Ji-hai stared at Jia Lee, her eyes wide with surprise and fear. "Are you crazy? The entire station is looking for her." "We can explain," Hyun-shik said calmly. Though his tense posture showed he was anything but calm. "There's more happening than you know." From the corridor came the sounds of the Drevni security team moving closer. Heavy boots stomped on metal floors. Voices barked orders. "We don't have time for a full explanation," Taewon said quickly. The short version is that the Drevni security forces have been infected by some kind of parasites. The Luminari discovered this, and that's why they left the station. Ji-hai looked skeptical. "Parasites? That sounds incredible, I know." Jia Lee interrupted. Her blue glow was stronger now, but still much dimmer than normal. "But it is true, and humans are immune to them." Ji-hai looked from Jia Lee to Taewon to Hyun-shik. "Is that why you're hiding her? Because you believe this story?" "We've seen evidence," Hyun-shik said. He pointed toward the door. "Look through the window. Watch the Drevni officers carefully. You can see something moving under their skin." Ji-hai hesitated, then moved to the small window. She watched as another security team passed by in the corridor. Her face paled. "What was that thing on that officer's neck?" she whispered. "The parasite," Taewon said grimly. "Now do you understand why we need to help her? This isn't just about one abandoned diplomat. The whole station could be at risk." Another loud bang came from the apartment next door, followed by the sound of furniture being moved. "They're searching thoroughly," Hyun-shik said. "They'll be here next." Ji-hai took a deep breath, seeming to make a decision. "I came to find you because something strange is happening in engineering. The Drevni ordered us to shut down the communication array that connects to Earth. They said it was for security maintenance, but it didn't make sense." "They're isolating the station," Jolly said, "cutting off outside help." "We need to get a message out," Taewon said. "Warn Earth about what's happening." "The human diplomatic vessel is still docked in the lower bay," Ji-hai said. "If we could reach it." "That's on the other side of the station," Hyun-shik pointed out. "How would we get there without being seen?" Taewon looked thoughtful. "The maintenance tunnels connect to most areas, but they're being searched too." He snapped his fingers suddenly. "Wait! The old waste processing tubes. They were sealed off years ago when the new system was installed, but they should still be intact. Those run throughout the entire station, Hyunshik agreed. But how do we access them? There's an entry point in the recycling center next to engineering. I had to fix a leak there last month. Taewon turned to Ji-hai. Is engineering being watched? Yes, but they're mostly focused on the main entrance and the communication systems. The recycling center is less guarded. The security team was now at the apartment directly across from them. They could hear the sounds of a door being forced open. We need to move now, Hyunshik said. They'll be here in minutes. Taewon quickly gathered a few items. His tools, the modified light device, a water bottle, and a small communication unit. These old communicators use a simple radio frequency, he explained as he handed devices to each of them. The parasites have compromised the station's main communication system, but these should work for short-range contact. Their technology seems more advanced than ours, Ji-hai observed. Why would they use our communication system? Perhaps they cannot adapt to different technological systems as easily as they adapt to different biological hosts, Jia-li suggested. It would explain why they needed to physically shut down your Earth communication array rather than simply taking control of it. That gives us an advantage, Taewon said. Our simple technology might be harder for them to control. The banging was now at the apartment next to theirs. They had only moments left. Ready? Hyunshik asked. When they all nodded, he cracked open the door and checked the corridor. Clear for now. Let's go. They slipped out and moved quickly away from the sound of the search team. Ji-hai led them through service corridors toward engineering. Twice they had to hide in storage closets as Drevny security teams passed by. Almost there, Ji-hai whispered, as they approached the engineering section. Suddenly, Jia-li stumbled. Her blue glow flickered weakly. She's getting worse again, Taewon said, supporting her. The light device isn't enough. Jia-li looked at him with dimming eyes. The information must reach Earth. If I don't survive, all the evidence will be lost. Don't talk like that, Taewon insisted. We'll get you to the ship. There might be another way, Jia-li said. My people have a method for transferring information in emergencies. I could teach you to read the basic patterns of my bioluminescence. Not everything, but enough to understand the key evidence. Is that even possible? Hyunshik asked. Can a human learn to read luminary patterns? Not fully, but the basic system. Yes, it would be enough to convince your leaders of the threat. She looked at Taewon. It requires close contact, a temporary connection between minds. Taewon didn't hesitate. Show me how. Ji-hai checked the corridor ahead. We need to keep moving. Security is everywhere. We'll do it as we go, Jia-li said. She reached out and placed her hand on Taewon's forehead. Focus on the patterns. See them as language, not just light. As they continued moving through the service corridors, Jia-li quietly instructed Taewon on how to interpret the basic patterns flowing across her skin. It was difficult at first, like trying to read a language with no alphabet, but slowly he began to understand. These swirls mean danger, he said, pointing to a pattern on her arm. And these dots represent the parasites. Yes, Jia-li said, pleased. You are learning quickly. They reached the recycling center without incident. It was deserted, the workers having been ordered to return to their quarters during the security alert. The access panel for the waste tubes should be over here, Taewon said, leading them to a far wall. He used his tools to open a large panel, revealing a dark tunnel beyond. Stale air flowed out, but it was clear the passage was intact. These tubes run all the way to the lower levels, he explained. We should be able to reach the docking bay without using any main corridors. What if they're searching these tubes too? Ji-hai asked. They might be, but it's our best chance. Taewon looked at them all. Ready? Before anyone could answer, the door to the recycling center slid open. They all ducked behind a large processing unit as a Drevny security officer entered, scanning the room with a handheld device. Life signs detected, the officer said into his communicator. Sending coordinates now. He knows we're here, Hyun-shik whispered. We need a distraction. Taewon looked around desperately. His eyes fell on the control panel for the recycling machinery. I have an idea, he whispered. He slipped a small tool from his belt and aimed it at the control panel. A moment later, the machinery roared to life, startling the security officer. Now, Taewon shouted. Into the tunnel. Hyun-shik went first, followed by Ji-hai. Taewon helped Ji-ali, who was moving slower now, her strength fading despite the light treatment. The security officer spotted them and raised his weapon. Stop immediately! Taewon pushed Ji-ali into the tunnel and jumped in after her, pulling the access panel closed just as the officer fired. The energy blast hit the panel, leaving a smoking dent but not breaking through. They were in the waste processing tube, safe for the moment. But for how long? We need to keep moving, Hyun-shik urged. They'll bring reinforcements. As they crawled through the narrow tube, Taewon continued his lessons with Ji-ali. With each passing minute, he understood more of the patterns, and with each passing minute, her light grew dimmer. There's so much information, he said in awe. The parasite life cycle, the infection patterns, the species affected. All of this must reach Earth, Ji-ali said, her voice growing weaker. Your people must be warned. The parasites are already planning to spread beyond this station. We'll make it, Taewon promised. Just hold on a little longer. But as they continued through the dark tunnel, he could see that her light was fading rapidly. And somewhere behind them, they could hear the sounds of pursuit. The waste processing tubes grew narrower as they descended toward the lower levels of the station. The four of them crawled through darkness, guided only by the dim emergency lights that lined the tube at long intervals, and the fading blue glow of Jolly's skin. How much farther? Ji-hai asked, her voice echoing slightly in the confined space. We should be getting close to the docking level, Taewon replied. He glanced back at Jolly, whose movements were becoming slower. Hold on, he encouraged her. We're almost there. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit had faded, but none of them believed they were safe. The Drevni would be searching every possible route to the docking bays. Wait, Hyun-shik called from the front. I see an exit panel ahead. They reached a junction where several tubes met. A large maintenance panel was set into one wall. This should lead to the storage area near the docking bays, Taewon said, examining the markings on the panel. Hyun-shik carefully opened it and peered out. Clear for now, he whispered. But I can hear voices nearby. One by one, they climbed out into a dimly lit storage room filled with shipping containers. The emergency lighting cast long shadows across the floor. Somewhere in the distance, alarms were still sounding. The human diplomatic vessel should be in Docking Bay 7, Ji-hai said. It's not far from here. Ji-ali leaned heavily against a container, her breathing labored. The blue glow had faded to almost nothing, with only faint patterns still visible. On her skin. I cannot go much further, she said weakly. The information, you must take it to your people. We're all going, Taewon insisted. I haven't learned enough of your patterns yet. The evidence would be incomplete. Ji-ali shook her head. There is no time. The station is under full lockdown now. No ships will be permitted to leave soon. Hyun-shik peered through a small window in the storage room door. She's right. They're sealing the docking clamps on some of the vessels. We need to move now or we'll be trapped here. Taewon made a sudden decision. We need to let everyone know what's happening. Not just Earth, but all the beings on this station. Most of them don't know about the parasites. How? Ji-hai asked. The communication systems are under Drevni control. Taewon's eyes lit up. Not all of them. The emergency broadcast system is separate. It was designed to function even if the main systems fail. He turned to Hyun-shik. Remember when we updated it last year? The control panel is in the maintenance room near Docking Bay 5. That could work, Hyun-shik said slowly. But what would we broadcast? Most species won't believe us without proof. The patterns, Taewon said, looking at Ji-ali. We could show them the evidence directly. Ji-hai checked the corridor again. Security is moving around, but they seem focused on the ships. If we're careful, we might reach the maintenance room. They helped Jiali to her feet. She was very weak now, her steps unsteady. "Stay close and move quietly," Hyun-shik instructed. As they slipped out of the storage room, the docking level was in chaos. Station personnel rushed about, some trying to board ships, others blocking access. Through windows, they could see vessels attempting to detach from the station, only to be held in place by emergency docking clamps. They stayed in the shadows, moving from one cover to another. Twice they had to hide as Drevny security teams passed by. Finally, they reached the small maintenance room near Docking Bay 5. "Here," Taewon said, pointing to a control panel on the wall. "This connects to the emergency broadcast system." He began working quickly, bypassing security measures and accessing the system controls. Ji-hai stood watch at the door, while Hyun-shik helped Jiali sit down. "I've got it," Taewon said after several tense minutes. "The system is active. We can broadcast video and audio throughout the station." "Now we need to show them the evidence," Hyun-shik said. The patterns on Jiali's skin, but when they turned to Jiali, they saw that her condition had worsened dramatically. The blue glow was almost entirely gone. Only the faintest traces of light remained on her skin. "Jiali," Taewon said urgently, kneeling beside her. "We need to show your patterns, the evidence about the parasites." She looked at him with eyes that were losing their focus. "Too late," she whispered. "But not all is lost." She reached up and placed her hand on his forehead one last time. "Remember what I taught you." Suddenly, her entire body flared with intense blue light. The patterns on her skin became sharp and clear, more complex than anything Taewon had seen before. The light was so bright that it filled the small room, casting blue shadows on the walls. Taewon felt a strange sensation, as if something was flowing from her mind into his. Images, data, evidence, all pouring into his consciousness in a flood of information. "Now!" Jiali gasped. "Broadcast now!" Ji-hai rushed to the control panel and activated the station-wide broadcast. "It's working," she said. "The cameras are active." Hyun-shik moved Jiali into view of the camera, her brilliantly glowing form clearly visible. Her patterns shifted and changed, displaying the evidence of the parasitic infection for all to see. Throughout the station, screens came to life showing the blue patterns. In corridors, living quarters, and public spaces, beings of all species stopped to watch in confusion and wonder. Taewon stepped into view beside Jiali. Drawing on what she had taught him and the knowledge now flowing into his mind, he began to explain. "This is a warning to all beings on this station," he said clearly. "The Drevny security forces have been infected by parasitic entities. These parasites take control of their hosts and are planning to spread throughout the galaxy." On screens across the station, Jiali's patterns confirmed his words, showing the parasite's life cycle and method of infection. "The Luminari discovered this threat," Taewon continued. "That is why they withdrew from the Galactic Council. Other species are now infected as well. The evidence is being displayed in these light patterns." The response was immediate. In the docking bays, panic erupted as people rushed toward ships. On the command levels, confusion and conflict broke out as uninfected officers confronted those they now suspected of being controlled. Drevny security teams began converging on the maintenance room, their movements now obviously inhuman to those watching the broadcast. "They're coming," Ji-hai warned, looking at the security monitors. "We need to get to the human vessel," Hyun-shik said. "Now." As they prepared to leave, Jiali's light suddenly flared even brighter. Her body arched as if in pain. "Jiali!" Taewon cried, reaching for her. "Go," she whispered. "I will hold them back." Before they could stop her, she moved to the door. Her body was now pulsing with light so intense it was painful to look at directly. "Get to your ship," she said. Her voice was stronger now, filled with purpose. "Warn your world. The parasites cannot infect humans. You are the galaxy's best hope." The door slid open to reveal Drevny security forces approaching. Jiali stepped into the corridor, her light blazing like a small sun. "Go now," she ordered. "Through the back exit." Hyun-shik pulled open a maintenance hatch on the far wall. "This way," he urged. Taewon hesitated. not wanting to leave Jiali. "Go," she said one last time, her eyes meeting his. "Carry the light forward." With a heavy heart, he followed the others through the hatch. As it closed behind them, he saw Jiali flare with light so bright it washed out the camera feed. They made their way through maintenance passages to Docking Bay 7, where the human diplomatic vessel waited. The bay was in chaos with people of various species trying to board any ship that might take them. There, Jihai pointed, the human vessel. As they approached, they saw human security personnel forming a defensive line around their ship, keeping others back. "We're human," Hyun-shik called as they approached. "Engineering staff." The security team let them through. Inside the vessel, human diplomats and staff were preparing for emergency departure. "What's happening out there?" the ship's captain demanded when they were brought to the bridge. "Parasitic infection," Tae-wan explained quickly. "It's taken over the Drevni and other species. Humans are immune." He touched his forehead, where he could still feel the information Jiali had transferred to him. "I have evidence. Complete data on the parasites." The captain made a quick decision. "Prepare for emergency departure," he ordered his crew. As the ship disengaged from the station, Tae-wan looked out a viewport. The station was in disarray, with some sections going dark as power systems failed. Several other ships were also breaking away, fleeing the chaos. He touched his arm, surprised to feel warmth there. Looking down, he saw faint blue patterns glowing beneath his skin, just like Jiali's but much fainter. "She gave you more than just information," Hyun-shik said quietly, noticing the glow. "Yes," Tae-wan replied. "A part of her lives on." He looked out at the stars as the ship accelerated away from the station. She wasn't abandoned after all. She was sent, a messenger. "And now we carry her message," Jihai said. Tae-wan nodded, watching as the blue patterns on his skin formed words in the luminary language, words he now understood. "We'll carry your light forward," he promised, as the human ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward Earth with its vital warning. Humanity would stand against the parasitic threat, and they would not stand alone.